What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Kind of Punch Boxing News, and I got some new news for you, man. I got to cover the beef, the subliminal beef. That's what I call it, man. Errol Spence, Saturday night, Sunday morning, or whatnot. He posted on Twitter, and he said, some fighters are on the wrong side of the street, and he didn't tag anyone or anything like that. But Terrence Crawford, you know, discerned the subliminal message and was like, hey, I own the whole block, so it don't matter what street side of the street you on. And then, Earl Spence, of course, he rebutted or he replied with, you don't believe that. I know you don't believe that. And, Terrence Crawford was simply like, hey, you understand one day I'm through talking. You know, One thing I don't like, I don't really care for subliminal messages. I really never cared for them, in general. You know what I mean? Like with relationships, people try to tell you something without telling you something. Just tell me what you needed to tell me, you know. And I'll apply that to this particular message. If Earl Spence had something to say directly to Terrence Crawford, because obviously it was geared at Terrence Crawford because, if you look deeper into it, Terrence Crawford is with Top Rank. Earl Spence is a free agent, and like a lot of times excuses come up because or reasons rather, that certain fights can't happen. Or if they can happen, they can't happen right now. So, I think that Earl Spence was just throwing that out there, I guess as bait, and Terrence Crawford took it, simple as that. Terrence Crawford is that guy that I think he's going to be more avoided than anyone else. My belief, I think a lot of fighters avoided him. I think Garcia ultimately went to 147 because not because it was really time to go to 147, is because that he knew eventually that Terrence Crawford was coming from 135 and making his presence known at 140. So I think, Danny and his camp decided, no, I think we're going to go to 147, a weight class away from Terrence Crawford, because, he's the guy with those skills. His dad, I remember Garcia's dad, making derogatory marks saying, hey, he's black, he's blue black. You know what I mean? That's just insulting, but you never talked about your boy fighting him. You know what I mean? Your son, rather, So, and Earl Spence, you see he's quick to fight Mikey Garcia, but then when it comes to a Terrence Crawford fight, he's not as eager to get in the ring with him. You know what I mean? In that case, oh man, the fight got to be built up. The fight has to be this, it has to be that. Maybe in a year or so. I mean, I guess there is some logic to it, but in hindsight, you're looking at it, well, you're quick to fight Mikey Garcia, though, and Mikey Garcia is a four-time champion, just like the undisputed champion Terrence Crawford before he came to be the champion at welterweight from taking it from Horn with the WBO. So it's like it's still a belt. If you fight Terrence Crawford, that's the WBO, and guess what? Terrence Crawford is already there. So you got to make that known. You got to put things in perspective. But when you see guys that are eager to fight certain guys. So to me, that would convey that, someone that's the boogeyman in that division. Of course, I've already made a video about how Micah Garcia feels about the situation and why he wants to fight Spence. And, you guys haven't seen that. Check it out, please. Because, it's kind of lengthy, but, it shows in detail, what was what with Mikey Garcia and his desires to fight Spence. But back to Spence and Crawford. Those guys eventually has to see each other. Keith Thurman, he's on a milk carton. Sean and Danny Garcia, they're fighting for a belt, but they're also fighting to keep themselves still relevant. Because besides those two guys and Thurman, the only people that are left is Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. Because there's no guarantee that Manny Pacquiao is going to come back in there and fight any of those guys. You know what I mean? And then if he does, I'm like this with him. Manny, if Manny does fight one of them, he should do it now. And if he doesn't fight any of those guys, I don't think he should fight, period. unless it's somebody like Khan or somebody, you could do some clever matchmaking with. But no, I don't think, he's just taking up space if he's not fighting the best. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, um, no, the Twitter stuff, it's good. It's good for boosting, the interest of these two fighters because again, these guys are two nice guys. Terrence Crawford has a mean streak. They show it in the ring. So does Errol Spence. They show it in the ring. But if you listen into their demeanor, their mannerisms, they are really just calm, cool, tranquil guys. You know what I'm saying? So they really don't, really talk a lot of smack. You know what I mean? So this is surprising. You know, this is very surprising. Of the Twitter beef. But of course, stuff like this builds fights. This builds a trailway to a fight. It's a testimony and a pathway and a journey to an upcoming fight that could possibly be a mega super fight one day. And let's just hope it does exactly that. You know what I mean? So, but these guys got to handle their business. Terrence Crawford, of course, he just got to that division. So I would like to see him fight someone else, that is a game welterweight before fighting someone like Spence. Not saying he should wait. I'm not saying any of them should wait. Because I just finished, a video on Tyson Fury and Wilder, and they look like they're not waiting for anyone. They're getting the paperwork done, signed, sealed, and it looks like it's about to be delivered. You know what I'm saying? So, no, they don't have to wait. But on the business aspect of it, I can understand why they would want to, because, Terrence Crawford coming from ESPN and with Bob Arum, Errol Spence, is a free agent. So, there's a lot of things that have to be considered. You got mandatories for both fighters because, in order to keep those belts, to remain what they have, So, but no, it's real healthy to see this type of stuff. These guys talking back and forth. It's kind of like how Charlo with Jamal Charlo and Danny Jacobs and how these guys kind of went at it. You know what I mean? Just like Tyson Fury and Wilder, like 2 or 3 years ago, they got in the ring together. You know what I mean? So, but that planted a seed back at that time. Just like it's another seed that's been planted with this Twitter beef. Okay, it's gonna grow. It's gonna manifest. So, we just gotta wait for it to do what it's gonna do. These guys will see each other one day. Hopefully they're still undefeated, which I think they will, in case Mikey can come up and upset Spence. Now that would be funny. You know what I mean? But we got to see what happens. We got to see if that fight even gets made first. But it looks like it's going to get made. So, it's a lot of ballsy fights happening. But I just have to reiterate that Terrence Crawford is a champion. Errol Spence's motive and, his objective is to unify the welterweight division, right? And so is that for Terrence Crawford, is to unify. So it's like, Mikey Garcia has no belt. You know what I mean? So you got to put in perspective. Like, yeah, I'll take a fight to fight a smaller guy. You know what I mean? And I think Errol Spence has to be careful because he doesn't want to get labeled like Triple G or Canelo did. How they fought Khan and Brook. Have these guys coming up and then these guys play sacrificial lamb, so to speak, going up there and weight where the odds are all against them and they do it anyway. And Terrell Brook, he blemished his record doing that. And I don't think that was really a good move to even go up there. Amir Khan got flatlined almost. So, I don't think that would be a fight to fight. And honestly, Errol Spence, you got to give full credit to the Honey Badger, Mikey Garcia. But for Spence, you got to kind of look at Spence like even wanting that fight. You know what I mean? Because you got to think about it. When Manny Pacquiao, like a year ago, or about 7-8 months ago, when Pac-Man wanted to fight Lomachenko really wasn't even interested in that fight because you're only good as your last performance, and Pacquiao's last performance against Horn wasn't really that impressive. So but Lomachenko had enough discernment, had enough respect for someone that didn't look good. Like, what would it benefit me to beat this guy now? of course, he talked about him fighting him now because he looked a lot better fighting Batiste, stopping him in round 7. But the point I'm trying to make, guys, is, you don't want a guy that, fighting a guy with that much disadvantage, either coming up or coming down, because you remember De La Hoya fought Pacquiao, and that was a disadvantage to him. So, Errol Spence was like, okay, yeah, I'll fight you, but it's like, why would you want to at the end of the day? Fighting somebody that well, hey, I can blow out of the water. Where there is a guy that's right there, which is Terrence Crawford, and he's game. He's a champion. Your objective to unify. He has a belt. Get that belt. You know what I mean? Wait for the Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, see who wins out of that, then get that. Like these belts can be made. So if Manny Pacquiao doesn't fight, wait for him to vacate the belt or whatever, the WBA, or it does. I don't even know if it belongs to Keith Thurman anymore. I think Pacquiao has the super version of that WBA welterweight, belt. So, but anyway, but no, the seeds have been planted. These guys are talking beef. They're going back and forth for a little bit because they don't really talk. It was kind of like a answer and reply and answer and reply. So, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how this manifests. We'll see what transpires from this. But anyway, you guys tell me about, what you think about Spence and Crawford and the Twitter beef. Please subscribe. And of course, you guys been counterpunched. Peace.